You're listening to dialectradio.co.uk.
And I'm joined on the line now by Alex Pascall from London. Alex, hi.
Hello,
welcome.
Tony. How are you doing?
Well, it's lovely to speak to a fellow person that used to work on Radio London. Well, it actually was Greater London Radio many years ago. I worked there in the around about 1990, 1991. Tell us about how you got started in radio, Alex.
I started with Radio London on air in November 22nd, 1974. At that time, BBC Radio London, the local station, we had asked for a program, The Black Community, and I was sort of headhunted through them. And then it took us about, a year to get there. That means we were doing it, preparing for it since 73. And then in November 1974, it went on air, named Black Londoners. That was a name chosen. Very interesting name because it raised questions on both sides. And that period, everybody used to talk about black people as colored people. And I used to say, which color you mean? And it was once a month on a Friday with a repeat, even with the phone in, on the Sunday evening. And then by 1976, it went once a week. And in 1978, May, it became the first black daily radio program ever in British history. I went down to the Caribbean to create links all around the Caribbean, and that was the buzz of London, because people from anywhere, the Black America, USA, Australia, Canada, it's amazing how the program spread itself from being a local a program on a local radio station across Britain to help to develop others in the different areas. And it ended in 1988. The Beaver and I didn't get on too well to the end,
Well, look, tell us a bit about the production as well, because, I mean, it's all very well you fronting it, but were you self-producing, or did you have a white or a black producer?
It was Barry Clayton, who was then an ex-Yorkshire television producer, co-founded it with me. Keith Yeomans, who was the executive producer for the education department of BBC Radio London, more or less took charge overall as BBC. But in total, I had to research, present, co-produce. But by the time we got to the once a week, I was then in charge of the program overall. The other people who were there as BBC people mostly came from ILEA in the education office, making education programs. But more or less, I was in charge right from the beginning because everyone with me were white. They didn't know the black community at that time.
So you were able to reach out.
It mushroomed.
It did.
From
Sounds like it
zero.
did.
And became quite an international program, really. People coming from anywhere. There was a Thursday part of the weekly program, which I call Visitors to London. And I would just get calls. People would turn up in front of Radio London. If you picked up a black person to go to the BBC, the taxi driver had to be careful because they all drove them right on to BBC Radio London. Some funny things to look back to this at this moment.
Yeah, well, take us back to the 70s. What was the attitude to black people within the BBC then?
It was rough, to say the least. It was the police on the panda cars, sus on the streets, intimidation, all told. Even a person like me who was coming out of show business and coming in, you would be just stopped ridiculously by the police. The black community, the temperature was building. I remember doing a lot of work in Lewisham in one area, then across the South Hall area, and so you had to have not black militants, but black men, young, who had to be helping these young children on their way from school or so, because the police was just running havoc with them. Race relations wise, this country was quite distant. They didn't know the geography of where we came from. So Radio London then became like a school through black Londoners, and a program which happened before me, Reggae Time, but Reggae Time only played with Steve Bernard. That only played reggae music. When I came in, I played the general music of Africa, the Caribbean, the standards of Black America, because the Motown period, all the white stations, Radio 1 would play that, Radio London, but nobody was playing black music per se from the Caribbean people who were here. Music from the Caribbean was getting no coverage. So that all came through the program that I was doing, Black London.
But the biggie surely has got to be the riots. I mean, we had them here in Bristol and St Paul's, Toxteth and
the riots was a stinging piece, especially Bristol, Liverpool, Brixton. I had to cover all those. I could never forget Brixton 1981. 1981 as a whole was a riotous year because you came from the New Cross fire, the 13 people who got burnt in New Cross. That led into the rage of Margaret Thatcher and what she said. I mean,
if I can just interrupt you a second.
At that time, I'm not slagging parties.
Alex, if I can just interrupt you a second, because I can remember driving through Brixton during the time of the riots. It really was like a total no-go zone, a bit like Northern Ireland, I guess.
It was. No, I could take you back to the scene when I remember taking a cab, getting down to Brixton, getting off, and I went to the inspector who was on the street there. I had my microphone in my hand, and I made sure to label up the tape recorder I had to show that I was from the BBC. And there were not many black men coming from the BBC at that time, I tell you that. And I went to the superintendent or inspector. I said to him, "Excuse me, I just want to let you know that I'm from BBC Radio London, and I will be going down there to cover." And he looked at me and he smiled. He says, "Son, look at my men who are down there. They're frightened at this moment. Can I tell them that you're another black man and to look after you?" He says, "I'm afraid we are all on our own today." And when I went to Radio London, the managers to say, "Well, I'm going down to Brixton. I would like to take the radio car." They told me, "No, I can't take the radio car." I went to Robbie Vincent and I said, "Okay, Robbie, why don't you come with me?" Robbie said, "No, you can broadcast to me from there, but no way will I go to Brixton." It was a frightening period.
So what do you put it down to, the violence at that time? Because it was just after the victory of the Conservatives and Margaret Thatcher, wasn't it?
Yes. Margaret, she had made that statement about swamping. And then that followed by something that happened to a number of children who got killed in Northern Ireland. And Her Majesty and others, as a matter, sent condolences to the people in Ireland, but never said anything about the 13 blacks who got killed in New Cross. That leading into the Brixton riot, that year was the death of Bob Marley died that year too, 81. That's right. And then the Pope and all, if you remember, across the world got stabbed. Was it something of the sort? It was a hell of a year, not only in Britain, but across the world. The things were really tough.
So what about wheeling on to the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, where I think we just both missed each other at Marylebone High Street in the old building, the old Radio London building at the bottom of the Radio Times.
It's interesting to look back to the old building, because that was only the Radio Times. Radio London begun in 13 Hanover Square, just off Oxford Circus there. And nobody knew Radio London, really. I think the black people got to know it because of reggae time. The Asian people got to know it because there was a program there, London Songs Eastern. So those minority programs helped to publicize Radio London. Even Capital, that came after Radio London, became much more popular. LBC, firing on the air. But when we got in there, black Londoners, then you don't have to be Jewish. Likewise, the minority programs that helped to bring more enlightenment to minorities all came through local radio, but in particular BBC Radio London.
Did you ever feel management pressure on you to treat subjects in a way which you weren't entirely happy with?
The managers differed. I think the problem came from the ignorance of the big beef in its own. The managing director, like Aubrey Singer, we had a face-to-face battle. He came down as Director General, down to the basement where I was at BBC Radio London, when things were pretty rough. And I could never forget that man. He was so rough, his attitude, his swearing. I think I lost respect for the Beeb from then on. But let me go back, because I met Redhouse. Peter Redhouse was the one we met, but within 6 months he was gone. Then came Alan Holden. That man is the man that is responsible for really helping me, setting the program alight, because he stated when he came, I'll give the program 6 months trial, live or die afterwards. And he then put something in, sent me to the Caribbean, so that was mighty. The newsroom was odd. There was one person whose name I wouldn't call, but he was so daft. I don't think, there were lovely guys in the newsroom, but that one person, I don't think I ever got on well with him. He tried everything to have a go at me. Then I can move to the next manager, Derek Amo. He was a great guy. He defended his staff, but boy, we had some ding-dong dings. He left me there, and I think he went off, but he died. And then the last one who came when they switched from Radio London to GLR was Bannister. He knew nothing about me. He rang me on telephone to say, don't come back. It's a long story that I'm writing about. You see, the politics of that time was deep in the Beeb. I had accused the BBC of being racist. I mean, later on, the Director General, what do you call him, who said that it's whiter than white, he was saying it years after I did. The Beeb was not easy. I am not saying everybody, you know. I'm speaking about the attitude in general of the Beeb needed a lot of education to even bring it to what it is today.
Well, today, Alex, of course, we know much more about things like the Jimmy Savile scandal, also about vetting, things like that, weeding people out who were seen to be challenging the government. And we had a former chairman of the BBC recently saying it's in danger of becoming part of the government. Now, Matthew Bannister, when I was there, I mean, he was the manager at Radio London, or GLR, yes. What was his background? I mean, you say he didn't know anything about you.
Bannister, let me put him, Bannister came from Capital and he came straight in. He didn't know me, but I remember having a private meeting with him to decide whether I would stay or not. And there were certain things I told him that I didn't like, and I have a feeling because I said that to him, I became persona non grata. It didn't matter at all. A
good manager, surely, Alex, is going to take a little bit of criticism. They're going to, they're not going to take that personally.
He can't take criticism. You see, there are some managers. You're right about taking a good manager's give and take. That was Amo. He gave and take. Alan Holden, the staff feared him, but he gave and take. But this guy just walked in with another friend of his called Trevor, and together they were like a bulldozer, They must have come in to do a job. And so I wouldn't say that he knew. Maybe in a way he knew absolutely nothing. But again, people have their positions and they get in. I wish him well. I listen to him every now and then on music, and I think to myself, oh, you had some intelligence. I didn't realize he had some intelligence on music, but I don't think much of him, frankly. I'm just finished in my book called Order in the House, based on the cameras going into the House now of Parliament, and looking at all the things, some of that of which I went through at Radio London and other places, the state of racism here, the United States, and other places, because things have changed somewhat. But underneath that water, the oil on the water, there is still simmering racism solved. It's just covered up.
Well, I mean, maybe you've got some comments about what's been going on in the last couple of weeks in Ferguson, because it does seem as if these oath keepers, these sort of mostly white guys with guns, are being brought along to try and turn what is ostensibly a problem of poverty into a kind of race war in the United States. So I just wonder what you think, whether you agree with that and whether you think that there's a danger of that sort of thing happening in Britain.
Yes, the same is happening in Britain, but Britain has a sophisticated way of hiding things. We are the most diplomatic country in the world, I think, Britain. I like the form of diplomacy, but I prefer a man to tell me to my face, go to hell, than to say that, oh, Alex, you're a nice guy and so on. We're very patronizing in this way. It's a lovely country. It has a lot going for it. We've had to fight to bring it where it is. But Lord have mercy, the hypocrisy is so disguised now that even to the indigenous white people, it is not fair. The gaps on race is wide. on economics is wide. We are going back to the early period where just a few people in this country wants to control. And there are specific ones who go through certain schools that are within the Beeb itself and other parts of the society. They believe that they are in charge. I'm really pleased to see what's going on with Jeremy Corbyn at this time, because what do you call left and right here? There is left, there is right, there is wrong. We need to take a general look at ourselves here in Britain and in the media, likewise, where you and I are. We used to seem to have more rapport before. Nowadays, everything is so highly controlled. Even question time has lost its sting.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree with you there. And that's why we try and float a little bit more wider ideas out on our show here, Dialect. Anyway, we're going to finish up with this song, We Ting Notting Hill Carnival. Can you tell us about that?
I just wanted to bring this in because the most political thing I've ever had to face was the Notting Hill Carnival that I managed for 5 years. And within that time, the troubles I had with it, trying to keep it in the cultural sphere of what it is. And at the end, I decided to write a poetic narrative called We Ting Notting Hill Carnival. It is ours, that means the people's. So the story that is written in that little book, people are downloading it now because I'm doing a lot voice-wise as well as the little booklet. And it speaks the language, the rhythm, the culture, and everything else. I hope people do like it because it's factual. And
also, we have our St. Paul's Carnival here every year, which has been cancelled this year. Have you got any advice for those who are working around that about how you put on a really good carnival that's genuine?
I used to go a lot around the country, even. I would love to come and do a lecture or a workshop or something to the people. It's no more black. Let us forget about that. To create a carnival here that has what we can call a Caribbean feeling, we must go through the schools, build it through the schools so that young people will learn. If there are those listening up there and they feel they would like me to do something, they can certainly get in touch with me because many of them should know me very well still up there,
Okay, before we hear We Ting Notting Hill Carnival, how do people get in touch with you, Alex?
www.goodvibesonline, all in together, .co.uk. Otherwise, email me, gvrm@email.com. gvrm@email.com. And it's nice, man. When you're back down here again, we must sit down and have a little chat. I would be delighted for us to get a few more of the people of yesterday, like myself, and those who are GLR, and sit down, if we can, and tell the truth.
Okay, thanks very much, Alex Pascall. And we'll leave you now with We Ting Notting Hill Carnival. Now, when was this recorded?
That was recorded just after I finished in 1989-90, when myself and Paul Condon was then head of the Metropolitan Police. It exposes everything that they were trying to do or did to the carnival.
Alex Pascall, thanks very much for joining us on
You're
Dialect.
a gentleman, thank you.
People jumping in the van, police milling round and round and round. Action on the bridge, the carnival under siege. Newsmen running wild, tempers flying high. Not a smile from man, woman, or child. Me dear, Miss Lolita, which you wrote this stall, she stopped to ball. Bungie, music stop, mass stop, roadblock, riot start. Mr. Speaker, the year 1976 was blue, bottle, and sticks. We carnival turn old mass. Yes, we carnival this Notting Hill Festival. Before 1965, we strive to keep alive this glorious celebration derived from emancipation, exploitation, deprivation, and immigration. We carnival, the pride and joy of a Caribbean nation, on narrow streets where people meet people in a joyful ripple of nostalgic action, feeling high in an atmosphere. Eating and drinking, we can a red stripe and carry beer, rum, roti, mobby, fried fish, rice and peas, and we ginger beer. Make this carnival we annual affair. Yes, we ting this Notting Hill Carnival. mass music and movement throughout the year in Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester, Preston, Bristol, Huddersfield, Oxford, Birmingham, Reading and Swindon, in the boroughs of Brent and Waltham Forest. See, is we carnival jamming from London City to Holland, Paris, Nice and Italy, twin land and sea, all are we jamming. Every August bank holiday we jamming. From 9 till 4 in the morning, all saints, sinners, police and thief, ragamuffin and nun, politicians and priests jamming. Inside, outside, front and backside jamming. Mass music and serious movement. In and out the grove, man and woman jamming. In the rain, singing a constant refrain, we jamming. Shortly tramping up and down. Shadow playing history mass like Jesus carrying the cross. John O with the quattro singing all masses, boss. From north to south, people come from all about jamming. Mangrove, Tabernacle, Power Square, under the bridge, and meanwhile gardens is song jamming. With Sugandi moves, we carnival is a party groove. But since you come to celebrate, the funding system rests with it. And so in 1988, they orchestrate commercial hate with a live band, mass debate, and a police raid on December 8th. Lord, you should see them sneak celebrate man, woman, and song. But for how long? I've seen and heard it all before and after late. Sister John, not fret, not stoops. Just wait. You thought you had seen and heard it all to date through the press, TV, and radio. Well, surprise, surprise. Take five. I'll summarize 1989. No panorama, no gala, no bleachers. Just more police, journalists, and horses. And a zeppelin, a big floating balloon flying high in the sky, circling Notting Hill with the bill. Like a pirate ship full of tricks. Space drama without a mama. Come 7 o'clock, all roads blocked, coppers start to flock. In bright daylight, sun shining, not dark. Them tell we party done, home bound, and that's not all. Is what happened to them people stall. Lord, I start to bawl till I reach Kensington Town Hall. Is then the penny drop? Bah! Who that? Yes, is who that get a piece of the Berlin Wall with us. Even that I know. Yes, master. Top prize. Congrats. What a police bacchanal. God, give we back with carnival. Stop this police bacchanal. Give we back with festival. Yes, is waiting this Notting Hill Carnival. What you say? They want to stop the carnival? Bossman, selector, music, turn on the music, let we play mass. Come let we jam, jump in the line and shake your body line. Let we go, tempo, chorus. Look man, no play the ups, look. Wine, flag woman, wine, is we carnival. Last wine, put your hand around my waist and wine. Play mass, play the bass. Wine, Mr. Pong, wine. Shake your bum, wine, dollar bill, wine. Wine like a ball of twine. Wine Lira, wine Yen, wine Mark, wine Frank, wine. Everybody wine. That is fair. The whole of Europe winding up and down London town. White wine, red wine. You can't wine. Jock your waist and wine. Wave something and wine. Gee whiz. Look with people wine. From head to toe to pan, reggae and kaiso. Wine with sparrow, wine. Lego. Now put your hand in the air and shake it. Come on. Everybody shake it. Jump to the beat. Drag your feet. Feel the heat and shake it. Shake it on the street, come on, shake it up and down. Look, take off your suit and shake you. Lord, pan gone through she head, she body beat. Look the rhythm on she waistline. Play mass, mass in your mass and on you. Hey, the bell in the skies. Yo, man. This thing carnival nice. I'm feeling nice. Hey. Stop with carnival. We carnival is we thing. This Notting Hill Carnival. See bag I know Notting Hill Carnival salad. Pass the bottle. Then we celebrate. Remember we celebrate. Nobody could stop this carnival. It's we thing. Carnival is we thing. See bag I know. Not for sale, officer. Not for sale. It's we thing. See bag I know. Let we play mass. We carnival is boss. Let we play mass. Give me tempo, baby.